Did you guys hear that the appeals court on President Trump's tariffs, they struck him down? And right now there's a bunch of discussion as to what's going to happen with that. Apparently it's been pitched up to the Supreme Court, who are going to handle it in their next session, which begins, I think, in a month, 2 months from now.
Well, thank you all for laboring on Labor Day. You're really going the extra mile. I want to
shut up, Navarro.
Just wish the American people a happy Labor Day. It's actually my favorite holiday because at the White House here, I'm the director of the Office of Trade and Manufacturing Policy. Citizens, that's truly remarkable. One of the craziest things, here's what's coming, that has ever come before. This had big law firms, and when you track at least some of that money to our ability to fund our own government, we're exposed by that debt.
Refunds, apparently. Lutnick already bought up the debt in case the refunds are issued. Are they already bought up that debt? Are they that worried about it? What would that be? Like $100 billion, $200 billion refunded? Where would it go? The businesses? That would be really funny, dude. That would be so goddamn funny. Yeah, the money would go to companies, not to people. So if you paid more for your bullshit because of the tariffs, you're out of luck. But the company that had to pay their end of the tariff when they imported the good, they get a refund. Lutnick bought a bunch of tokens for that tariff shit. That's so funny, dude. Holy shit. If they're calling it the most anti-people administration of all time.
To blackmail from other countries, including communist China, which holds a lot of our debt. So clearly on the first question, these unequivocally are national economic emergencies and qualify under IEPA. The second point...
You're boring and I hate you. You were probably old when I was born. Fox Business, my favorite impartial, business channel. Please hit it. Take it away.
And I will say I have no idea if the stock market's off that I had a single thing to do with tariffs or whatever. That's why I have right next to me the great Charles Payne, host of, come on, Making Money Every Day.
Why the f do you both look like that? I feel like I'm in a skit right now. Oh my God. That's crazy. Dude, the physiognomy whiplash as we go around the room. Holy shit.
The great Charles Payne, host of, come on, Making Money Every Day, right here on Fox, 2 to 3 p.m. Boy, the teleprompter's really slow. That's a bad omen. And we have the great John Carney, financial journalist, and they're both here. So, Charles, what do you think? Is it tariffs? Is it Lisa Cook and the Fed? Is it price earnings multiples like the Wall Street Journal said this morning, or what?
A little bit of all of the above, but more importantly, I think the seasonality thing. The build-up to, September is the worst month ever. We had the same thing going into August. Remember the last 3 sessions in July, we fell off a slope, and then we had a massive move lower on August 1st because August was the beginning. August, September, that was the 1-2 punch. And so it was sort of sort of one of these things where self-fulfilling to a degree. The sell-off was light.
No one cares. Talk about the goddamn tariffs.
Which is great, okay, and may signal positive stock market action.
Don't you agree the guy in the middle looks like Tim Curry? You're right, he does look like Tim Curry. Doesn't have his voice, though.
In the next couple of days. But it did sell off at the opening, and
Court not only said you can't do the tariffs going forward, but you have to do some sort of refund system. Remember, a lot of companies are actually paying less for the things that are tariffed. So they would actually reap a huge windfall if they were also to get the refund, because they don't have to pass that back on to their suppliers. So the importers would be getting this refund, maybe. I've actually asked Treasury...
If the importers ended up getting this refund, this would be like essentially a massive government bailout. If the way this pans out is that like the government's essentially been banking extra money that they then end up distributing, like the companies pass it on to the consumers, but then the government ends up refunding them anyway. Jesus Christ, man. Just a free handout, like straight from the consumer over to the companies or to the importers. Howard Lutnick's sons have been buying the right to the tariff refund from businesses for 30 cents per dollar. Oh, they're taking a bet? So they're taking a bet that they get like a massive windfall. Interesting. 30 cents on a dollar. So I guess that's the betting market then, huh?
Whether or they're looking into the question of whether or not refunds would be mandatory, because you could say, no, you can't do the tariffs going forward, But the tariffs that were paid are paid in, they've been spent, frankly, and the idea that you're going to massively, a court judgment would require the federal government to pay hundreds of billions of dollars.
That's insane.
I don't think
we've never seen anything like that before. And you know what? By the time you get to the Supremes,
well, it would just be a bailout. But also, it's like the only thing the government could do if these were found illegal. Like, if the government illegally imposes tariffs, what can the government do other than allow for some refund system? Like, unfortunately, it sucks, but it's also like the only logical thing they could do. Like, what are you going to do? Like, tell all the companies just eat it? Like, actually, the government can pass tariffs illegally and then there's no recourse? I don't know what the they could do.
Which a lot of analysts, I was reading legal analysts, people who are much smarter on this than I am, saying you won't get a decision from the Supremes until next year. How quickly next year, I don't know. You have a couple hundred.
The tariffs are going to remain in place until then, by the way. Dude, they're charging up a power bomb. Holy shit. The total amount of money collected by the tariffs is going to end up being like 1.2 trillion or something, and then like a spirit bomb that Goku has been charging for months. They're going to fire it, and the government's going to rebate all of that money to a bunch of importers. And a small group of people are going to end up being obscenely, like impossibly wealthy, and all of that money will have come directly from the consumers. It's going to be great. It's going to be hugely inflationary. It's going to be bad for prices overall. It's going to be it's going to be like a direct extraction of wealth that we haven't seen since the financial crisis. Let's go. According to Trump, they collected trillions in tariffs. Well, that's a lie. He's lying when he says that.
$100 billion.
That's right.
Is the Custom Border Patrol going to distribute that? Of course not.
No,
they're the ones responsible for it. They can't do it. Actually, I'm going to argue the IRS and the Treasury can't do it. Look at the job they do on a normal basis, for heaven's sakes. We've had how many IRS chairmen? We've had 5, 6, 7 of them already in the first 6 or 7 months of Mr. Trump's term. I mean, it's insanity.
There's no way that this could happen without it being a big mess. That's one reason, actually, a very practical reason I think the court will not overturn this. Your read on the IEPA is right. IEPA gives broad discretion to the president.
Yeah.
If he can regulate trade, if he could bar all of these imports under IEPA, it doesn't make sense to say he can bar the imports, but he can't impose a tax that's less than the bar. I think the court is going to
No, those are two different things. Taxes are done by Congress. Those are two different things. The Constitution explicitly confers onto Congress the ability to levy duties, tariffs, taxes. It's very specific about this. Ugh.
decide he can do it.
Charles, just another one of the so-called fundamental variety. Lisa Cook in the Federal Reserve. Now, she's in court. She got a 2-day stay, I guess. Today's Tuesday. She's got to pony up Thursday. The brief has to be, let's see, no longer than 25 or 35 pages. I don't know. I can't read all that stuff, but I did my best. It's amazing to me that Jay Powell has not suspended her pending the outcome of the investigation of mortgage fraud. Her lawsuit is actually against Powell and Trump.
Do you think the business class were on board with the tariffs because they knew it was illegal for Trump to do it and thus reap the bailout? No, I don't think that. I do not think for a moment that any of this shit ever gets planned. I just think that the economy and the political system are both rigged so that no matter what happens, the wealthy always make out on top. Like, I don't think it has to be planned. If something goes one way, they win. If something goes the other way, they win. If the tariffs happen, in some way they win. If they don't happen, they win. Like, there's no, it makes it seem like everything's planned, but yeah, the game was in fact rigged from the start. There wasn't really like a set of outcomes here where the consumer comes out on top, you know?
I don't know. Does any of this matter to markets, to the interest rate story coming up?
Well, it does. It does matter. Particularly, I think it shines a great light on the Federal Reserve, particularly for Main Street. And the politicalization of the Federal Reserve. And the irony, of course, is you have someone like Elizabeth Warren out there on TV every day chastising Trump when she pushed out Clarida.
Yep.
When her and Sherrod Brown were orchestrated the removal of 3 Fed officials. Now, they bowed out because they wanted to keep the Fed intact. They understood that, hey, listen, this is bigger than us. The irony is, of course, is that all 3 were later found not to have violated any rules by the IG. So they could have stayed and fought and dragged this on and made it a political situation, but it would have lessened the importance of the Federal Reserve.
Let's dump 1.2 trillion into the hands of importers, then lower interest rates. Are you guys ready for the the inflation boom of a lifetime. I've got good news. It's not going to be stagflation. I've got bad news. The inflation portion is going to be rough. Why not? Why only refund them for the tariffs? Why not just give them more money on top of it, you know, for damages, right?
Already in shambles, to be quite frank with you.
Because of Powell.
Because of Powell.
In large measure.
You know, the transitory thing, the $3 billion renovation. Also, I just think that the way they go about their job, right? The data that they use to do this job, and it's just, it needs to be remade. You know, I can't wait for the Marin hearing this week, and Stephen Marin hearing, because we need to remake the Federal Reserve into an institution that's looking out for Main Street before Wall Street.
So you think that the stock market's looking at this, and it's like who's on first, what's on second? We can't really tell. And I love this article. We tried to get Alicia Finley from the Wall Street Journal editorial board. Suddenly, the Democrats want an independent Fed, even though they've done exactly what you said.
What the f are you talking about? Okay, never mind. We're getting into the partisan. Well, it's been partisan hackery from the start, but the analysis is falling apart a little bit more than normal, I suppose.
In the 1930s said no Fed official would stay if the president lost faith in that person. This Lisa Cook needs to go for the health. If she cared about the Fed, if she cared about its independence like she claims she does, she would step aside at least till this gets cleared up. You don't stay there.
Yeah, okay. Benjamin, we'll talk about it after stream.
Trying to serve when there are credible allegations of fraud against you.
And by the way, Truman fired McCabe. McCabe quit. You know, it's one of those things, you can't fire me, I quit. So this has happened before, over and over and over again. It's not brand new. It's not Trump's war on the Federal Reserve. Fed presidents and chairman brothers have had the classes of presidents for a long time, since the very beginning of this thing from 1913 on.
I love this, though. Suddenly,
what if they just keep on coasting until like the debt crisis finally hits in 10 or 15 years? I don't know, man. You can get away with so much when you're the global reserve currency. You can get away with so much. It's crazy how much like innate stability every other country on earth relying on you confers. You think it'll take 10 years? God, who knows? It seems like there's no solution to it, right? It seems like there's no actual solution to it in the long run. We're never closing that deficit, man. It's never happening. Oh my God. Not to mention like the additional payout. We're going to end up spending far more this year than was anticipated in any previous graphs charting out like debt expenditures. Oh man. Yeah, I don't know. American businesses have paid over $210 billion as of August 24th to cover the tariffs that U.S. courts have determined are illegal. On Tuesday, Trump acknowledged the court's decision, if held by the Supreme Court, could result in the U.S. Treasury having to give back tariff revenue collected. Trump told reporters Tuesday that his admin is writing an appeal to the Supreme Court, perhaps as early as Wednesday. He's urging swift action to keep his tariffs in place beyond the October 14th deadline the appeals court set for when its ruling will take place. There's no way this holds, by the way. It's going to keep on going till the Supreme Court ruling. Possibly over. Who knows when the Supreme Court will talk about it, though?